I know I always beg you guys to subscribe to the channel. I'm more advising you subscribe to the channel. Every day you wake up, you think, man, there's some crazy headlines in college football. Coaches being fired, coaching searches happening, all this and that. I am of the belief there's a distinct possibility we haven't even seen the craziest. So you need to be subscribed to the channel. With that, we're jam-packed. We're high atop of glorious downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Thursday, November 6th, the year of our Lord 2025. We got upset alerts all over the Thursday show, so we always do that. I have got a question sent to us by a viewer about Dabo Swinney, and I figured we got a couple of minutes on the Thursday show. Didn't have time on the Tuesday show. Thursday show, I can talk about that a little bit. What's going to happen with him? This is one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport, going through a little bit of a thing over there right now. What's going to happen there? We'll talk about that. I've got 3 terrifying playoff chaos scenarios. Everyone should be scared, except for me, because I came up with them. Everyone should be scared by these scenarios. We got Cubelic on the show. We're going to talk a lot about the finer details of coaching searches out there right now, specifically the Auburn one, but not just the Auburn one. So we're jam-packed. I'm even going to do A&M Missouri. We're going to break the game down. They're watching us in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Jupiter, Florida, St. Paul, Minnesota, East Lansing, Michigan. I ask you again, I implore you again, because I got a DM like 30 minutes ago from someone who said, you keep asking us to subscribe, and I thought I was subscribed the whole time, and then I looked down and I've been watching 4 years. I wasn't subscribed. I know. That's why I keep asking. Our data says 52% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel. And I don't know why, because it's free. And generally, I think I'm a very affable person. No one's out there rage watching, are they, Jesse? Do we have demographics? Do we have data on rage viewership? Even if you hate us, subscribe. Out of hatred. Hate state, Pate state, whatever. Just make sure you're subscribed, and it helps us out a lot. That's it. Okay, let's dive into the show. Fairly jam-packed for a Thursday, I would say. Upset alert, concern meter is going to spike on several of these games generated by Flex Power. Flex Power has done a really good job of generating upsets by the, not dozens yet. Who knows, after this week it may be in the dozens. But they've been generating some upsets. They can also generate your home, anything you need power generated to. But they can really generate some upsets here. And I got to start with one that I have trouble seeing. I couldn't even get Jesse to sell me on this one. Indiana is at Penn State Saturday. It's an early kickoff. Of course it is. Indiana's minus 14.5. This one's a little different dynamic. It's been a long time since we thought about a Penn State home game, and I asked the following question. Is the crowd really going to be a factor? But I'm asking you, Penn State home game, 148,000 seats in that place. Is the crowd really going to be a factor? Hey, if it's close at halftime, yeah, no one's going home. But I was telling Jesse, hey, look, I know how hard it is to get in and out of that place, Immunity, and I know how turned off the people are up there by the way the season's gone. So if you're a season ticket holder, you're going to show up. But for the first time in the back of your mind, there's this voice that says, if it's a 3-possession game at halftime, am I hitting the exit door? Am I going to try and get home? Am I going to get back down to Harrisburg? Back over to York or Johnstown? Am I going to beat the traffic? Beat the traffic vibes could be very high in State College this weekend. Now, what if it's tied at halftime? What if Penn State has the lead? That's why we're talking about it on Upset Alert. It just doesn't profile as the kind of week where the Indiana third down magic is going to cease. What is that? Well, it's the biggest paper pop in this game. Indiana is number 1 in the country in third down conversion percentage, to the point where you wonder if they have a cheat code on the sport. Penn State's defense, 103rd in third down conversion rate allowed. So if you can't convince me that that's going to just like invert itself magically, I have a tough time seeing this. Penn State's backup quarterback is alleged to be a wide receiver right now, by the way. Then again, if they get to the backup quarterback, it's a moot point anyway. Ohio State had 3 cap-buster plays against Penn State last week. So theoretically, you could say, hey, if Penn State has turnover luck and they have good defensive third down efficiency, and also they make Indiana work to earn it, and they don't give up the easy over-the-top cap-buster plays, then maybe they can win. Did you notice how many things had to go right? What a world we live in now, where all that has to go right for Penn State to have an outside shot puncher's chance at home against Indiana. I'm down on this, is what I'm saying. Jesse, I know I told you it's a 3. I just told you to make feel good. I got like a 2 on it. I don't see it. Then again, that's the anatomy of an upset. You're not supposed to see it on the horizon. Next up, Starkville, Mississippi. The boys at Mississippi State are fresh off their first conference win over Jeff Lebby. We know that on this show because we picked them outright. Not that we deserve a ton of credit, we deserve a little bit of credit. So they come home now. Georgia is a 9.5-point favorite, according to FanDuel, at Mississippi State. Georgia, some people think, is sleepwalking. I don't think that. I think Georgia just is who they are this year. They are a team that has to play a lot of these close games. 4 of their 5 SEC games have been decided by one possession. Oh, wait, that's not Georgia. That's Mississippi State. 2 of these. We got 2 one-possession kings in this game. It's just one of them keeps winning them, and the other one has lost them until last week. So, yeah, I just read the stat. I'll read it again. Just know that this is Mississippi State. Yeah, the Bulldogs. Well, Mississippi State Bulldogs. 4 of their 5 SEC games decided by one possession. Now, Georgia, 4 of their 6 have been decided by one possession, and the Auburn game's the outlier there, or one of them. And the Auburn game feels like more of a one-possession game than some of the other ones that were one-possession games. So I say all that to say this could be a very close game. Mississippi State is 35th in the JP poll, to give you an idea. They're ahead of Georgia Tech in the JP poll. They're being badly overlooked because of their record. It's not a bad team. They also scored 38 on Texas. So if Georgia comes in there and they don't get pressure, and Mississippi State starts moving the ball, I got good news for you. You can score on Georgia. And I got good news for you, Mississippi State. You're very comfortable playing one-possession games. I've got bad news for you. Brandon Walker's coming to the game. I would have made this a 9 on the upset alert concern meter. But now that we know Walker's going to be at the game, I can't put it any higher than a 6.5. And so I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't the case. We remember what happened when you had Texas beat until a certain someone went horns down with time left. I don't want to rehash that. That's very clickbaitish. We don't want to do that. We don't traffic in that around here. Next up, Syracuse at Miami. There's just no way. Right? There's just no way. Miami's favored by 28.5 at home. Where are they mentally? Now, I'm somewhat of an expert on Syracuse football because I watched the entire game against North Carolina. North Carolina is bad. Syracuse is terrible. And I watched some of the worst football I've seen played in a long time. And after that game, where North Carolina won convincingly, might I add, and I think Syracuse's only score was defensive. Their only touchdown was defensive. So after all that, Fran Brown made some staff changes up there. They got to go down to Miami. Theoretically, Miami's in a big bounce-back spot here. Theoretically. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win pulling away. I'm not going to put anything bigger than 0.5 on the upset alert concern meter. This is the kind of game, though, that even if they win and it's ugly, I still have concern about Miami. So that Stanford game, as it turns out, final score is 42-7, but they pulled away and covered late in that one. So even that one wasn't quite the blowout that it looks like. Will this game be a blowout? We'll see. Next up, right here in Nashville, Tennessee, Auburn taking on Vanderbilt. Our Vanderbilt Commodores are laying 6.5. Now, this is the post-freeze era for Auburn. And we know what comes post-freeze, right? Thaw. And while I have no idea how that relates to football, I just wanted to fit it in so that if Auburn ends up winning this game, we can maybe use it as a soundbite. Maybe the Auburn creative team just weaves it into the post-game cinematic recap. I don't know. But Vandy, good run D. 17th in the country. They struggle against the pass, but you know who else struggles with the pass? Auburn. So I'm not quite sure how they weaponize that or how they leverage that to their advantage. Vanderbilt's still a playoff team, guys. They're sitting right there in the thick of the playoff hunt. In fact, I think if they win out, they're in the playoff. So this is one game they got to play. I think they got Kentucky. There it is. Yeah, they got Kentucky next week, and then they've got at Tennessee. That's how they end the season. They play a very low margin for error style football. So does Auburn. The total in this is 45.5, and frankly, I think even that is a little high. DJ Durkin wants this job. He wants to be considered for this job. I don't know what kind of, they call it the dead cat bounce out there. Some people do the bounce that you get after you fire a coach, which is antithetical to what common sense tells you would happen. I don't know what that's going to be here. I just think Vandy showed they're not checked out of anything. They almost came from behind to tie Texas last week. So I'm going to put a 7 on this game. Limited possessions, anything could happen. I'm going to put a 7 on it, but I'm not betting it or anything like that. Next up, this one's pretty low, but it's not 0. Navy is at Notre Dame. And this is not being played at a neutral site. This is Notre Dame Stadium. Sun's going to set like 2:30 in the afternoon. Notre Dame favored by 26.5. As usual, Navy has the top rushing offense in the country and the number 130 passing offense in the country, which means if Notre Dame does what they did last year, get a big lead, it's over. They won 51-14. They won 42-3 the year before that. They just had a weird game at Boston College. Notre Dame, the kicking situation is atrocious, and there's really no help in sight. If they have to rely on kicking to beat Navy, we've got much bigger issues here. I don't think they will. They've got a game against Pitt on deck, yet I'm not quite sure it's the look-ahead spot that, the rankings would indicate. I think Notre Dame will be okay here. I'm told they're one of the hottest teams in the country. I'm told they're in ascension mode. I don't necessarily disagree. So I'm going to put a 2 on this, and that's mainly because I'm patriotic, and I don't let Navy be anywhere below a 2 on the upset alert concern meter. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. Don't feel great about it. Next up, maybe this one will. Wake Forest at Virginia. Virginia also in the thick of the playoff hunt. They're 8-1. They're undefeated in conference play, even though they've lost to an ACC team. Again, don't ask, don't ask, don't ask. What is left of Wake Forest after Mike Norvell took them and tossed him in the wood chipper last week? 42-7. 42-7 was the final there. I don't love the Wake Forest matchup. They need to flip the turnover margin here. That's really what they need to do. They need to flip what we hope is a randomized statistic, because one of them is 97th in turnover margin. That'd be Wake. And the other is 10th. That'd be Virginia. So you just need to be +2 turnovers randomly on an afternoon in a matchup where you're not good at that and they are good at that. Because if you do that, and you got Virginia breathing that November air, it's the thinnest air in the sport. Contending for the first time, competing for a playoff spot for the first time, and now you're in November and you're favored and people are talking about you on shows like this. And sometimes it can go to your head, and sometimes you just play a little bit tighter, and you got a team that got left for dead and they got body bagged last week, and then they unzipped the body bag and they're up 23-20 in the fourth quarter. It's good enough for me to put a 6 on the upset alert concern meter. I'm going to be watching this one closely, even though we'll be in Lubbock, because Quick Trip is taking us there. The Fall Don't Lie Tour is headed to Lubbock, Texas. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, man. I'm getting out there. I'm spending all Friday in Lubbock and then all Saturday in Lubbock. Spend as much time as you can in Lubbock, Mima always said. No problem. No problem. I think Buddy Holly said that too. So the Fall Don't Lie Tour shirt there, right there in the Pate State store, patestateMaterial.com. We make a version for every place we go. So there's a Fall Don't Lie Tour t-shirt for every stop we make, but we only make it available for 1 week. So right now the Lubbock t-shirt is doing numbers this week, first off. And secondly, it's available for like 2 more days. And then it's done, and I can't even get one. I can't even. My sister wants one. It's just a strange affinity for Lubbock, Texas. Sorry, wait till next year. So we'll be there. Fall Don't Lie Tour will be there. Really excited to get out there. I have been down a rabbit hole all week of the 2008 Texas Tech game. I've been listening to like Stanford Steve and Rosillo and all these people tell stories about how they were there and what it was like, the pregame, in-game, post-game scene. And I'm like, well, I was watching at home, and that was fun. I was just a little kid. Not quite. I was a legal adult by 2008. But still, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was like. Lubbock was on the moon. Lubbock's in like Russia, isn't it? That's what I thought in 2008. And then I watched Michael Crabtree and Graham Harrell, and I watched Mike Leach, and I watched them using a kicker that they had gotten out of a kicking competition during the season, which I would advise Marcus Freeman to do, but he can't right now because they can't add people to the roster at Notre Dame. Anyway, I'm excited. That's how what you just witnessed the past 45 seconds is how my brain works all day. It's a terrifying place to be. And I'm able to control it just long enough to do hour-and-a-half shows every now and then. I just keep it in the lines. It's like bumper bowling. Just pull the bumpers out long enough to make the show make sense. But that's normal for me. All right, We got to break this game down right quick. You know, Texas A&M's at Missouri Saturday. We're going to have the audacity to talk about the game. Everyone else is just a foregone conclusion. A&M, hey, man, they got Texas left, and that's it. False. False, false, false. They're favored by, what are they, 6.5, Jesse? Yeah, they're a 6.5-point favorite at Missouri Saturday. It's the longest month of the year, guys. Don't pay attention to what the calendar actually says. November's the longest month of the year if you're ranked. If you're contending, in A&M's case, for something you've never done before, going to the playoff. We went to this game last year. Did you know that? We went there, and it was a splattering. A rare tour visit splattering. Normally, when we're in the house, it's a close game. But we went to Oklahoma State, Kansas State one year, and that was a splattering. And then Missouri at Texas A&M last year, 41-10. Somehow it wasn't even that close. And that was the Every Given Saturday tour. Well, the Fall Don't Lie tour will not be in Como this weekend, but A&M will. Missouri did not really even see Marcel Reed in that game. Connor Wegman played most of it, if I recall. So Missouri has been left for dead, and quarterback's out for the year, and they're coming out of a bye, so you haven't spoken about them in a couple of weeks. And I'm just wondering how Missouri emerges from the bye. Because Matt Zollers is going to start this thing. And he's 6'4", 214. He is a true freshman. Really good talent. Raw, because of course he is, because he's a freshman. But I don't need him to play a whole season's worth of dynamite football. I just need him to be good enough on one Saturday. Missouri's got the number 10 rushing offense in the country. So what I need from them, what I need from Ahmad Hardy, what I need from Jamal Roberts is I need enough. I need that offensive line to take control of the game. I need enough to where I'm not looking at that kid and saying, hey, here we go, 3rd and 7 again. Get the job done. That's not fair. That's not even a fair spot to put like Kay Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier in consistently. So it's definitely not a fair spot to put him in. Now, the good news is this is an interesting kind of matchup for Texas A&M. You've gotten this late in the season, and yet you're still looking at an offensive line and a tailback room here that can give you a pretty unique challenge up front. And A&M, you know, they've dealt with several different kinds of teams. This matchup here, we've got reason to believe here, the model's got reason to believe, could give A&M some fits. And could end up, if you don't take care of business, if Marcel Reed and that passing attack doesn't take care of business and you're not putting what you should put up on the board and you've scored 40-plus 2 consecutive weeks, if you're not doing that, Missouri can just slowly put their hands around your neck and start to just squeeze, and all of a sudden you can't breathe, and it's too late. That can be this kind of game. It has to be that kind of game for Missouri. Now, if A&M earns the right to rush the passer, it's over. So if that offensive line from Missouri is not doing what I said, if those tailbacks are not doing what I said, and you've got a bunch of 3rd and 6 pluses, A&M number 10 pressure rate, number 1 sacks per game in the country, ball game. Missouri cannot win a game that way. A&M's offense, like I said, 40-plus points back-to-back games. They're also off a bye. They are, in a perfect world, going to be shot out of a cannon. They're gearing up for a stretch run. Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion should have favorable matchups each out wide here. But look, Missouri is a top 10 pressure rate team too. So Missouri's defense can get after you as well. And for all the accolades Marcel Reed is getting and should be getting, he still makes some questionable decisions every now and then. So it hasn't burned them. They're undefeated. But if it just so happens to burn them a couple of times on this one given Saturday, that's how the upset would happen. Let's take a look at what the model thinks, by the way. The FanDuel number, I think it may surprise some people out there. It's only 6.5. We've got it shorter than that. We've got A&M -5. FanDuel -6.5. Pate State model here, A&M -5. So I'm actually, because I don't have a strong feeling on it, I'm following the model. I think it's going to be a one-possession game. So I am taking Missouri plus the points. I believe in Eli Drinkwitz that much. I believe in the backup quarterback theory that much. The galvanization effect it has on a roster, especially coming out of a bye, especially because your season's not over. Missouri's still in the thick of the playoff hunt. It's just people have written them off because they assume, well, once your quarterback goes down, your season's over. Not until you lose games, it's not. So I'm going to take Missouri to cover. A&M somehow, some way, very close win. Upset wouldn't shock me here at all. And I'm high on A&M. It's hard to go undefeated, man. So I'll take Missouri plus the points. We'll do that. Flex Power, just powering the show. Look at these lights. Wouldn't even be on if it weren't for Flex Power. No, we've had a pretty good weather day here. But storms could come through at any moment, and they could knock our power out and could knock your power out. Or you could just have a tailgate that you want powered on Saturday. Or you could have a birthday party, and it's going to be out in the front lawn, and you need power for that. Flex Power's got you covered. Portable generators. Very quiet, might I add. We proved that to some of our viewers at Vanderbilt a couple of weeks ago when we gave one away, and then some other lady walked up who didn't even get one. She just took pictures of it, took down some information, said, wow, that's quieter than my generator. I'm not making that story up. Perez, you witnessed that. I'm not making that up. myflexpower.com/Josh Pate. They are friends of the program. Just had a nice lengthy conversation with them yesterday. Probably going to do one again tomorrow. So we appreciate them, and you will as well. I got one more thing a couple more things that I wanted to get in the show. This Dabo thing, man. Brian hit me up. He said, why don't we see Dabo's name on the hot seat, even though he's having a worse season than some coaches who have been fired? Well, I think the easy answer there, Brian, is he's built up a lifetime's worth of equity at Clemson because he's won championships there, and he's got a 183-52 record, and he's been at Clemson 18 total seasons. Like, Dabo Swinney's a lifer. Well, not quite a lifer, but Dabo's got a mountain of equity. I mean, he's been well-equipped to suffer some down years. And this is the first really big down year. Like, they may not make a bowl this year. That's how bad it's been. They're 3-5 right now. Now, Dabo, genius. Dabo's always 5 steps ahead of the room. Dabo lost Saturday to Duke, 46-45. He marinated on it Sunday, and he shows up Monday, and he did what any smart coach would do. He spent 10 minutes at his press conference excoriating officiating in college football because everybody agrees officiating sucks in this sport right now. And all of a sudden, everyone's agreeing with Dabo, and you're like, what? Wait a second. Shouldn't that press conference have been spent with him defending himself and people questioning his job security? And instead, Dabo's got everyone with a torch in one hand and a pitchfork in the other one. We're ready to go after officiating. There's not going to be hot seat talk with him. That's not the way it would happen. I don't know what this kind of exercise would be, but it'd be a fun exercise to just live in hypothetical land and see how many sub-500 years would it take to burn up all the equity Dabo has. And this is a famously impatient society, sporting society at least. And even within those realms, I think Dabo's got a lot of equity built up. So the next thing that I noticed Monday, part of it was joking with the officiating thing, but Dabo said something Monday that stuck with me because I don't know what he's talking about. I'm going to paraphrase this. He was talking about his instincts, and he said, one of the things I've got to do is I got to kind of get back to following my instincts, trusting my instincts. That's what's really made this place great. I've been able to trust my instincts, and I've gotten away from that a little bit, and I've listened to too many people. And he refused to get into specifics, so we're left to wonder what he's talking about. And I am doing that. I'm wondering what he's talking about. What pivot have they made? When you say that, when you say I've gotten away from my instincts, I take that to mean I've gotten away from who I am and what I do and the way I do it. Well, I look at the Clemson program and it feels the exact opposite to me. I look at the Clemson program and in the past, he's promoted from within and it's burned him. And he's refused to start using the portal more and it's burned him. And there hasn't been a huge infusion of new ideas in there. And again, that's a very, very broad statement. I'm not saying they haven't tried anything new or they haven't hired anyone new or they've never used the portal. But at the very least, they've slightly dipped their toes into those waters as opposed to diving in. Which I'm not saying is right or wrong. I'm just saying it's felt like they've stuck very close to Dabo Swinney's instincts as of late. So I'm really wondering, open-ended, if anyone wants to offer a suggestion, what he's talking about. But the other part is, what are the changes he's going to make? If you talk that way, then I assume, all right, well, you're taking the steering wheel and you're going to turn it a little bit. What is it you're going to do? Because there's no way he looks around and says, yeah, I like the direction we're going. No way. Now, he doesn't owe you an explanation or me an explanation, but he owes himself an explanation. He owes his program one, his kids one, his players, and who knows, maybe his children, I don't know. But I really just wonder what kind of changes he looks at when this season is done and the curtain falls and it's Dabo Swinney assessing Clemson football and Dabo assessing Dabo, what has to change? Or, put another way, which lanes do you need to course correct in by getting back to what you do instinctively? That's it's a multi-million dollar question, actually. Now, I'll tell you my feel. I don't think Clemson football will ever be what it was again under Dabo. And that's okay, because everything has a natural shelf life. So he is one of the greatest to ever do it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is what Clemson football will be remembered for. He's the face of that program. My generation and moving forward, when we were born, we thought something different about that Tiger Paw than we will think today and moving forward. I mean, that's huge. That means someone came along and made themselves the historical face of a program. That doesn't happen very often. So we have witnessed that. So he's been phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal run. I think Dabo Swinney at his best moving forward is good enough to have Clemson be pretty good. I just don't know. Unless there's fundamental change about that place, I don't know if they're ever going to be in the mix to be a championship contender again. I know he says otherwise. And who knows? Maybe he's right and I'm wrong. I think most of you probably feel the way I do. Most of you probably, if you look throughout history and you've seen a natural rise and then an arc and then fall on the back end, there's rarely a second arc. Look at the win-loss records on your screen right now. We did this the other night. I read this to you. Just the amount of losses per year. I'm going to start in 2018, 0 losses, then 1 loss, then 2 losses, then 3, then 3, then 4, then 4, then 5 so far, maybe with more to come. It's not like this is a blip. What it is a slow decline. It's clear as day. It's almost perfectly linear. It's clear as day. So, some people say, oh man, Dabo was nothing without great quarterbacks. Okay, but he recruited the great quarterbacks. They developed them. He gets full credit for that. Who in the world would have won without their best players? Saban won because he got a bunch of great players. What do you say? Well, without those great players, Nick Saban wouldn't have been. That's stupid. Just like it's stupid for people to try and undercut Dabo's accomplishments. But you lose great players. You lose guys like Brent Venables. And all of a sudden, you can't hold Duke to under 40 at home. Like, that stuff catches up to you. They have never replaced Brent Venables at that place. They have never replaced the caliber of defense they were able to play. They have never restocked the shelves with elite wide receiver play like they had. They have not had elite quarterback play there. And it's not one thing. It's multiple things that for them to return to what they were, that have to get back to, and I don't know that that's happening. That's okay. It's been a great run. I just think we're more towards the end of it, certainly, than we were at the beginning. You can go, on a completely unrelated note, you can go to our store right now. The 'Tis the Season collection is there. We moved some product the other day. I underestimated a little bit the traffic the site was going to have. Didn't crash, and we've still got everything. So if you didn't get to it the other day, we got some good stuff, man. We got some good stuff. That Merry Christmas, You Filthy Casual shirt was our best seller the other night, and it's a sweater too. And one of these days I'll tell you who came up with that idea, but I'm not ready to confirm it yet. But it is in the store, patestateMaterial.com. I had one very, very noteworthy college football general manager hit me up today, and he screenshot his receipt. He bought one of the Christmas sweaters, and I was like, you could have just told me. I would have sent one to you. But if it's good enough for the GMs, certainly it's good enough for our audience. PateStateMaterial.com is where it's at. I wanted to get to one more thing, and then I'll bring Cubelic in. The college football playoffs coming up, and we got the rankings out, and that's happening every Tuesday now. And I was just looking over some things earlier today, and I think we could have chaos on the horizon. In fact, I know we probably will, but I was thinking about 3 different scenarios. I want you to walk through these with me, because I think there are some things that if everything fell into place perfectly, could just send this thing up in smoke. One of them is what I call the Big Ten conundrum. So you're going to have to follow me here. I know some of you are visual learners. I am too. So when everybody says, well, what about this, and this, and you're trying to close your eyes and picture it, I know it can be tough, but just follow me here. So Oregon, they play Iowa this weekend. Let's say Oregon loses to Iowa, and then they win out. Let's say USC beats Iowa. Oregon beats USC. Washington just loses a game somewhere along the way. And then Washington beats Oregon. Ohio State beats Michigan. I know I said Oregon wins out earlier. Anyway, I know that's very convoluted. What I'm telling you is I have some bullet points here. None of these are out of the realm of possibility. Like Oregon falls this weekend. USC falls to Iowa. Oregon over USC. One more Washington loss. The point there is if Ohio State, after all that, goes and beats Michigan at the end of the year, there's a world where all these teams are 9-3. So Ohio State's free and clear, they're in. Indiana's free and clear, they're in. But given the scenario I just laid out to you, which is not insane, Oregon's 9-3, USC's 9-3, Washington's 9-3, Iowa's 9-3, Michigan's 9-3. I don't think any of them are in, and the Big Ten has 2 playoff teams. That would be a disaster. As Tony Petitti and crew are steadily pushing automatic qualifier formats, because they think they deserve at least 4 or at least whatever, and that would be a disaster of epic PR proportions. So that's the first one. The Big Ten conundrum is the first one we could have on our hands. The second one, it's a happier one, would be what we call the Big 12 lottery conundrum. This would be a conundrum for the rest of the country, not for the Big 12. So this Saturday, we'll be there for Texas Tech, Brigham Young. Texas Tech hosting Brigham Young. Let's say Texas Tech wins that game. Let's say Utah just wins out. They go 10-2. Brigham Young or Cincinnati beats Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. At that point, if just those 3 things happen, I think we have 3 Big 12 teams in the playoff. Because Utah would almost certainly be in as an at-large. They're going to go 10-2. They were already 13th the other night. And if they go to Baylor and beat both the Kansas schools, they're not going to drop. So I think they would be in. Your Big 12 champion would be in, and that's Brigham Young or Cincinnati. And if Texas Tech makes the Big 12 championship game, they will have made it squarely in the top 10. I don't think the committee is going to drop you out for losing your conference title game. They didn't with Southern Methodist last year. I don't think they're going to do it with Texas Tech. So that would be 3 Big 12 teams in. What if the Big 12 got more than the Big 10? Ugh. Also, there is just as easily a world where the Big 12 is a 1-bid league. Brigham Young just wins out, wins the whole thing. Utah loses another game. Big 12's a 1-bid league. Could be 3, could be 1. Probably more than likely it's 2. But that both of those things are in the cards right now. And then we have what we call the SEC flood conundrum. And this would be a conundrum for everyone who doesn't live in the South, because this would be the utter disaster scenario for SEC haters. And here's all that has to happen. Texas and Oklahoma and Vanderbilt win out. That's all that has to happen. If that happens, A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Vandy, Oklahoma, and Texas, 7 SEC teams, all have 1 or 2 losses. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Which 2-loss SEC team or teams are we leaving out there? And even if you remove Vandy, let's say Vanderbilt goes and loses to Tennessee. All right, so Vanderbilt's out of it, Tennessee's out of it. They're both 3-loss teams. You'd still have half a dozen 2-loss teams from the SEC. And to take that a step further, Texas or Oklahoma would be locks with 2 losses. But especially with Texas, I'm wondering right now, if they're sitting here already on the bubble and they go and they lose a very close game at Georgia next weekend, 24-21 or something like that. The committee just showed us the other night, you get minimal punishment for losing competitive games against high-level teams. So I don't think Texas would fall off a cliff. And then what if they go and they beat Texas A&M in their last act of the year? Would it be enough? In fact, I guarantee you it would be enough where there would be a big conversation about a 3-loss Texas, which would enrage most of the country because, number one, it's a 3-loss team, and number 2, it's Texas. That's why we call it a conundrum. That's why we call them chaos scenarios. None of those would shock me. On a somewhat kind of not related note at all, I was trying my best to find a connection here, but there's not. You know, FanDuel is the exclusive odds provider of the show. Yes. We all know that. Well, I know some of you out there, you like to bet sides. Some of you like to bet totals. Some of you, like in the pro game, you do player props and stuff like that. You don't have to do any of that. In fact, you don't have to bet at all. But if you want a different option and you do want to bet, you know they've got team props over there. I seldom mention this, but I thought I would remind you, like, for example, Texas A&M plays Missouri or whatever. If you just want to bet Texas A&M total rushing yards as a team or total receiving yards as a team, you can go do that. Doesn't even matter who wins or loses. Doesn't matter how many points are scored, although if you got over in receiving yards, it probably helps that points get scored. But yeah, you can go do that. You can go do that right now. Or you can just do it the old-fashioned way, or you can wait until the Ramen Noodle Express gets finalized, which we're going to add a game to in just a couple of minutes, and you can do it that way. You can go over there if you're a new sign-up, by the way, fanduel.com/Josh Pate. If you sign up that way, I love it. But you bet $5 and win a game, you get $150 in bonus bets. Just like that. It's great. There's the QR code on your screen. If you trust QR codes. If you don't, that's okay. Just do it the old-fashioned way there too. fanduel.com/Josh Pate. We have, let's see, 2 games to add to the Ramen Noodle Express before we get Cubelic in here. I hear him out there. I hear him knocking on the door. So we're already on Florida State +2.5 at Clemson. We are already on Maryland +1.5 at Rutgers. A reminder, Mike Locksley did not get fired. That was a false headline. So congrats, Mike Locksley, on being, it almost feels like he signed an extension. In reality, it was just a fake tweet. So we got FSU and Maryland. All right, here are the games we're adding. Kansas +5.5 at Arizona. And we've waited on this game all week. 9.5 is the best we can get. Alabama -9.5. It is the model's favorite play of the week. I don't know why, but we don't question the model. The model's been chugging lately. Ramen Noodle Express been chugging lately. And we are going to take FSU, Maryland, Kansas, and Alabama. And a reminder, tomorrow night, Friday Night Lines emanates from a hotel somewhere in beautiful downtown Lubbock, Texas. I will give you the time for sure. Make sure you're following on Instagram at Josh Pate CFB, and I'll let you know about that tomorrow night. Cole Jeremetrius Cubelic of SEC Network got Florida, Kentucky this Saturday. I know you don't like your last name or middle name being thrown out there, but I am of the opinion that the more the audience knows you, the more connectivity they have to you, the more likely they are to subscribe to Cube Show, which is available free of charge on YouTube. You don't even charge people over there to subscribe. I don't think you guys have a newsletter or anything over there yet, but how are things on this fine Thursday?
I am sorry, Cooper. Your big brother apparently has taken this personally, and please accept my apology.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Pategna, friend of the program, just a friend of ours, goes on your show this morning. You and McElroy have him on in Birmingham. McElroy didn't even try and say his last name. You tried and failed miserably to say his last name. And you were to his last name what the Unabomber was to the Postal Service. So much so that he hit me up and said, I don't know if Cole even knows me. Does he know me? Does he know my last name? You even spelled it on air to help people search him, and you spelled it wrong. How does that happen?
I was looking at his Twitter, and the letters just got jumbled up. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
It was early. It was early in the morning. I needed more coffee, and he helped us through a tough spot there, so we're appreciative.
I have in my hand 3 matchups that are happening this weekend. We already talked about them. You've talked about them all week. Just tell me on the order of concern, which of these favorites you have the biggest concern for. We got Texas A&M at Missouri. We've got Oregon at Iowa. We got Georgia at Mississippi State. The point spreads are roughly equal on those games. Oregon a little bit shorter of a favorite. Which one concerns you the most?
Oregon. I just think going there this time of year for anybody, unless you are built almost exactly the way that they are, like if this was a service academy, I might say, yeah, I'm not real worried about you. They're going to try to drag you into their style fight, which is going to be a third or a fourth less possessions than you're used to getting. And then obviously the way that they're going to strangle you defensively, not allowing you to run the football, is going to put more pressure on one aspect of your football team, which is your passing game, and then they can take advantage of that. So doesn't mean they're going to be able to get up and down the field offensively, but Gronowski's been great running the football. I think that if Oregon goes and tries in any way, shape, form, or fashion to make this some sort of a track meet offensively, it's probably going to be an issue. And styles make fights. It's a bad style fight for Oregon right now. I think they have individuals up front on both lines of scrimmage that don't mind the dirty work and don't mind physicality, but I don't know if collectively it matches exactly what Iowa brings to the table. On the flip side of that, you have speed, athleticism, potential to create big plays. All those could play into Oregon's hands, but going and doing it there this time of year, I don't think I'm ever going to feel good about a team doing that.
When you were at Auburn or just your time living in Alabama, have you ever been to East Alabama Motor Speedway? You know where that is?
If you're referencing Talladega, yes, I have.
Nope. I'm glad you mentioned Talladega. I am very, very notably not referencing Talladega. East Alabama Motor Speedway.
Huntsville Motor Speedway. I've been to that one.
Definitely not that either.
Many
Thank you.
times.
Yeah, rattle them all
I actually
off.
saw the ones where they raced the RVs at that thing, and
that's not
crash
it either.
and burn the whole time.
Yep, that's not it either. A lot of burning though. No, this is East Alabama Motor Speedway. This is a dirt track. This is out in the middle of nowhere in East Alabama, and you could go out there on a Saturday night, be very entertained, but the dirt track cars look way different because they're running on dirt. And you could have the best street racing car in the world, but if you try and take it to East Alabama Motor Speedway, EAMS for short, it's going to be a bad night for you. And basically, that's what it sounds like you're telling me. You try and take your street racing car out there in Kinnick Stadium, rain possibly changing over to snow as the sun sets. It's going to be a fun time. That doesn't sound like it's going to be a good time for the Ducks. Now, number one in the country.
You know what it does sound like, though? It sounds like football is what it sounds like.
Oh, that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here. Oregon, can you play football? Are you still a football team?
I'm just saying, you like snow when the sun starts to go down with a game that has meaning late in the season into the postseason. Like, that just sounds like football. Sign me up for that.
Sounds like you are of the opinion that I was willing to do the dirty work and Oregon maybe kind of somewhat is willing to do the dirty work case by case.
That's okay. And that's fine. There are a couple of teams living that life this year. Texas is living that life this year. Maybe not collectively wanting to be that football team on a weekly basis. Saw them last week. A lot of them were that way in that game. So I don't know how many teams in the country right now are built to go out there and just do your job. And if that means never making a tackle, never catching a football, it might be for the love of the game route. Not a lot of guys like running those. So you can get something open underneath and be able to get 11 yards instead of 81 yards. If it's blocking, if it's taking on a double team, I don't know if there's a ton of teams that I see in college football that collectively want to be that across the board. So it's not a real knock on Oregon. I think the portal has something to do with that. I think not having a lot of guys in the locker room for multiple years together takes away from that just a little bit. It's hard to build one of those football teams. USC's been living that life for a couple of years now. It's cool to go out there and dip and rip around the edge and speed rush and go catch footballs down the field and be on kickoff cover when the ball's going 4 rows up into the stands. When it comes down to taking on a double team or setting the edge or being the penetrator on a twist when you're probably not going to get anywhere near the quarterback, but you're going to get double team, not a lot of guys like that. When I see the teams that have guys that do like that, those are the ones that stick out more than the others.
All right, so we got a coaching search underway at Auburn right now. Message boards are really fun to listen to. You do talk radio 5 days a week, so you've taken a ton of calls on this. You played there. You talked to people there. I've been sort of fascinated by, at least this is the way it seems to me. It seems to me the further away people are from Auburn, the further removed they are from understanding the inner workings there, the more likely they are to just kind of traffic in the same old stereotypes. Now, the stereotypes, and this is my opinion, you can give me yours, they exist for a reason. Like, for instance, if someone just runs around and says, oh, Auburn, man, boosters meddle there too much, you don't want anything to do with that job. Well, it's because in the past there's a track record of that in some cases happening. But just because something's happened in the past doesn't automatically mean it is what's happening right now. All right, so I said on the show earlier this week that for a program that sometimes famously can't get out of its own way, I think there are shocking amounts of relative alignment right now by Auburn standards that may not have existed in the past. And so the people who are yelling that, I think they're yelling that without really being on the ground and being in the weeds of the here and now with Auburn. Then the second part is, for all these names that get thrown out there and the candidates, and it's Kenny Dillingham or it's DJ Durkin maybe on a permanent basis, or it's John Summerall, whoever's getting thrown out there. I always want to know, number one, that's great. Who's staffing? Like, who are you bringing with you? What's your staff going to look like? Number two, I'm wondering, okay, do I really have alignment? I'm just asking the same thing about LSU. I'm asking the same things about all these places. If I were to get Kenny Dillingham, just pulling a name out of the board that we have written on over here, if I were to get him there, who's his DC? What kind of NIL coffer does he have? Is there alignment? Like, who is he answering to? Is John Cohen there for the next 10 years? Is the athletic director that hired him going to be the one who's there for the duration? Do you have all your big money players in line? If I have those, it's my opinion Auburn's a top 15 job if all those boxes are checked. And it's my opinion all of these guys could win there if that's all checked. So that's me, and I'm up here like on the roof. You're down there on the ground. How do you perceive just the overall state of that place right now?
I am in line with your assessment of it. I think that in the past, there has been a power struggle from starting with the administration. And I don't mean the athletic administration, I mean the academic administration wanting to maybe have more say or the only say. And then at times that went over to the athletic department and who was actually going to make the call there. And then those two factions sort of butting heads. And then there's been other times when I think inside the athletic department, there have been money guys who wanted to be the big dog, wanted to be the only one, didn't want other people to have a say. That then began to cause problems. I think there have been some that have taken a little step back, some that maybe have heard a little voice of reason as to together we can probably do this a lot better. And I think the direction of college football almost forced a little bit of that with college athletics, I guess, not even college football. So I'm with you. I think there's also a part of, Josh, that last hire was, even if it may not have been told or presented that way, that was hand selected by some of those individuals that we're referencing. So I also think that there's a little bit of it now that's like, all right, we got it wrong. We're going to trust maybe somebody else's opinion on this just a little bit more than we did last time. Doesn't mean that they won't share their opinion. Doesn't mean that they won't at least say, we would love to see this or that. You and I both know with some of the names that have been floating around, that's obviously happening. But I don't think it's going to be a pound the table my way or the highway. If you don't hire my guy, the checks run out. There will be no more donations, anything of that matter. So I think that the alignment is about as smooth and in line right now as I've seen maybe in my lifetime. I'm not going to act like I was paying attention to it when I was 12, but since I've had an idea of what it was and what was going on and how things operated, I don't think I've seen it better than it is right now. Of the amount of people who want to line up and help, the amount of people who are willing to just push a smidge of their ego to the side and say, let's figure out a way to get this done together. And I'll tell you this, I think there's a lot of those people, both administratively on the academic side, administratively on the athletic side, and from the financial support system side that are sick of losing. They want to be proud of the team that they put out there, teams, plural, that they put out there. So they're willing to put a little bit of the ego to the side. They're willing to maybe not exactly get their way on every single thing that takes place because they want Auburn to be great again. And I think that has almost forced a little bit of this alignment that we're talking about.
It just occurred to me the other day, this is the first post-Saban hire that Auburn will have made. And you will never convince me that the Hugh Freeze hire didn't have a ton to do with just 2 wins that he had against the guy a decade ago. And so those were bullets in the chamber when I'm defending the Hugh Freeze hire, if I'm responsible for making the hire down there. And look, if he was the right guy for the job, he was the right guy for the job, but that always seemed kind of nonsensical to me. So anyway, Freeze or not, we're on from the era where you're hiring a guy and the first words out of your mouth are, now you got to compete against Saban in Alabama. You got to compete against the elephant in the room up there. So you've got that. You've also got what you talked about with the alignment thing. Here's the third thing. This applies to Auburn. I think it's going to apply to several. There's this bygone idea that if you're a top 15 program, if you fancy yourself one of the elites out there, you don't have to settle for anything other than a finished product. Like you can go and there's going to be this endless supply, this orchard of finished product head coaches with multiple years Power 4 coaching experience, and they've got hardware in the trophy case. And when it comes time for you to fill your job, you're just going to pluck it right off the tree. That's never been the case in any era. It's definitely not the case in this era. So my mentality with this, if I'm Auburn or if I'm anyone else, is I keep hearing names. So if someone mentions John Summerall, someone could say, yeah, but he's just a G5 coach. He doesn't have a whole lot of head coaching experience. Kenny Dillingham, Yeah, but I mean, that dude lost to Mississippi State this year and lost to Utah and lost to Houston. And I just don't know. And there are all these nits that you can pick with any one of them, just like Ohio State could have when they elevated Ryan Day from within, just like Oregon could have when they went and got Lanning, just like Oregon can have had with Lanning on the job. I mean, he got circles coached around him by DeBoer the first couple of times they faced him. My point is, Oregon kind of invested in their guy and said, all right, we're gonna bite the bullet of the notion that he's gonna have to professionally develop on our dime a little bit. But they look at it no different than if I go and recruit a true freshman 5-star left tackle that I think could be all conference in 2 or 3 years. It doesn't automatically mean he's a plug and play as a true freshman. I'm not saying you go hire a head coach and redshirt him. What I'm saying is it's not the craziest notion to me these days where it's harder to get guys to move than ever because the sport is flattened out a little bit. It's not the craziest notion that if I'm Auburn, if I'm Florida, if I'm whoever, I may need to go get a guy and just acknowledge, no, he's probably about 78 to 82% of the way to where we ultimately hope he is, but he's going to find that final 20% with our logo on his chest. And I could say that about any of those guys. I could say that about a lot of these jobs. Look, if Marcus Freeman wants to leave Notre Dame and come to Auburn, that's awesome. I'd sign up for it tomorrow. I'm not sure that that's realistic. I'm not sure that a lot of the established candidates are really looking to leave right now. So I just look at it. You can tell me if you disagree. I look at it no matter who I hire, I'm going to have to swallow a little bit of that.
I don't think there's any doubt because how many legitimate proven candidates, and when I say that, and we're going to get into these myths of hiring a college coach here in a second, how many of those are going to be out there with big game experience, quote unquote, or a national championship, conference championship under their belt, have coached in a Power 5 conference and have experience as a head coach there? I mean, you tell me, Josh, how many of those guys are going to be floating around during this coaching cycle? And then to go further than that, certain schools, how many of them are going to have their pick of numerous guys that have those qualifications? Like the national championship thing, we know how that dwindles things down. So then you go to the P5 conference championships, and guys who have legitimate big game experience at that level, there's going to be a small handful of those. So 1, 2 of those go away. Then are you really selecting from the same candidate if that's your criteria? I just think some of these myths of having had been there and done that, or winning the press conference, or proven resume, all of those things have been proven wrong before. And by the way, the attitude and the mindset going in to hire that guy has also been proven wrong. I mean, we have seen national championship winning coach in this league come in from another conference and not win much in this league, referencing the SEC, because that's mostly the open jobs we're talking about right now. So to me, it goes down a little bit more of the bare bones. And it's why I've been talking about relatability a lot recently, being a people person, understanding how to manage people. I think in today's day and age, Josh, you have to go out of your way to have more people want to be around you than you ever have before in college football, because guys can hit the portal. And if you're a good receivers coach, hell, if you're just a good recruiter, we'll find a place for you to coach on the team. We can make you one of our army of analysts. We can come up with one of these fun titles like Sergeant at Arms of affiliation with equipment, whatever we need. Social media investor. I mean, we'll come up with something to get you on staff if you can bring people in and help us recruit talent to our team and then keep it on our team. You got to go find GMs to come and run the financial side of your team. Some teams are going out and finding talent evaluators to make sure when we're going and looking at this guy on the portal, he really is what he is, because he's been playing in the MAC or he's been playing D3 and he looks like he might be good, but we don't know. And we need him to help right this very second. So I think being able to go get good people to work for you and have people to want to stay with you is more important than ever. And that's why the relatability part of this keeps coming up to me. So you can talk about all the criteria. I would look at it this way. Do you have someone that knows how to rally individuals, be it the players on your team, your staff, fan base, maybe even more so community that's going to be around your program, and go out and win games? If you've done that, I'll take a flyer on you.
Yeah.
And then if I know you're self-motivated and you're going to go out and wake up every day and not have to have me tapping you on the rear end saying, come on now, let's go get them. Let's go find us some 5 stars today. He's going to be out there doing that before I even thought about sending that text message. That's the guy that I want. at Auburn University, and I think every other university probably wants it too.
I think what you said about the relatability thing there, it gets glossed over because it's not on anyone's Wikipedia page. It's not on anyone's bio. You just want to know, all right, how many check marks do you have in the trophy column? When DeBoer came to Alabama, I remember the biggest refrain around the state and around the South for any detractor of the move that they made there at Alabama was, well, he doesn't know people down there. He doesn't know how to recruit the South. You remember all that. So I had someone in the NFL side of things tell me, it's so funny to watch the South's reaction to Alabama hiring Kalen DeBoer, because he said, you're emphasizing the wrong word. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, they keep saying he doesn't know people. And they're saying like he doesn't know people as in he doesn't know the high school coaches down there. He doesn't know this, he doesn't know that. But what you're failing to realize, or what they're failing to realize, is he doesn't know people, but he knows people. And I said, interesting, stroke of the chin, go on. They said, dude, all the rest of the stuff will fall into place. People want to work for him. People want to play for him. People love being a part of the organization. It's a very magnetic culture. And now Alabama hadn't struggled to recruit. They hadn't struggled to attract talent in the portal. And he's learning some of the highways and byways in the state. And so it works because you get a person that knows people. And then you got a good staff because people want to work for you, which works at Auburn. You've got the ability to evaluate, which works at Auburn. You've got the ability to develop the talent because you got the infrastructure in place and get the talent, which works at Auburn. And then the other thing that I pay attention to, and it's kind of hard to know this because like the dollar figures aren't always available, but you know from talking to guys, there's some places that have to pay 125, 150% premium value to acquire talent. There are other places where guys will take a 50, 75% discount to go play because some places are desirable to be, plus you're going to get developed better there. Whereas other places, it's free agent, it's mercenary. And if you get a guy that's the latter instead of the former and creates that kind of ecosystem, that to me in the modern age, along with the relatability factor, those are two of the most underrated aspects you can accomplish.
I'm going to go two places with you. I'm going to start with Kalen quickly. I love the way the person that you're referencing stated that because I think it's absolutely perfect and stated beautifully about the person that he is. I thought of this when you were saying that. Kalen DeBoer has met my children on multiple occasions. He's met my wife, and the second time he was around my wife, he acted like he had known her for 20 years. You would have never known that he had only met her one other time. The first time I was ever around him was at a banquet at the Alamo Bowl, and we had lunch sitting next to each other, and we literally talked football the entire time. We had never met one another. We had never spoken a word to one another. And we sat down for about an hour and a half that afternoon, and we just talked ball back and forth the entire time. And the thing that came to my mind in describing him, Kalen DeBoer's never had a 30-second conversation in his life. And I have been able to watch him, observe him, both at Washington and now at Alabama. I've been around him, covering him. I've been around him a little bit more on a personal level. I've never seen Kalen DeBoer have a 30-second conversation with anybody. And I think that's kind of what you're referencing there. It's never passing someone in the wind. It's never, hey, can I please shake this hand and just get by this guy? And like, let's get this over with. He's engaging. And when you're engaging, people obviously want to engage with you because you're getting a little something in return as opposed to just, thanks, man. Okay, good. On to the next one. And so Kalen has that. I was also thinking about when you were referencing like what he has, it's almost like quarterback with intangibles. It's not in the box score. You're not going to see it, but you're like, that guy's got it. Like he understands when to throw the ball away, when to tuck the ball and run. We don't mark that down in the statistical categories, but he has it. And coaches, players, whatever it is, broadcasters, some of them have it and we just know it. We can't describe it, tell you what it is, but those guys have that. And then to your second point, specifically with this Auburn search, and I would say the same thing to Scott Strickland and the Florida search. I would say things to the 57 people making the LSU decision, that find someone that wants your job. Because with all of these, I do believe there are a few of those out there. There are a lot more that are weighing all the jobs against one another. But with certain jobs that are out there right now, there is a guy or two, maybe one with each, that wants that job. And if you can find that, I would waste no time going and hiring that individual right now. Because you and I both know there's a lot of people that are weighing contracts against one another. There's a lot of folks that are trying to leverage jobs against other jobs. There are very few guys out there that can look at an opening and say, that's the one I want. And when you find that guy, you better do what you got to do to go get him.
There are guys that fit both categories. If you're an Auburn fan watching, I would take comfort in the notion that there are qualified people out there who want the Auburn job. Not a job, who want the Auburn job. There's one other little conundrum here because of the way the calendar's changed. We're all of a sudden firing coaches in October, and we've got job openings, and there's like a month and a half's long runway. In some of the Penn State's had a month and a half by the time December hits to hire a coach. And so, you got these coaches whose names are in the tumbler earlier than they've ever experienced before. So a lot of them are going through firsts. And then I'm on the phone with some folks the other day. You and I have spoken about this too, about what's the perfect way to do it. Let's say I'm coaching at a lower level and Pate State is offering me the job, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take it. But my team's in the thick of a postseason hunt ourselves. And I've got such a split, compartmentalized mentality right now that I want to be all in for this team. I demand that they're all in for me. I want to be all in for them. At the same time, I'm about to head to the highest level of competition this sport has to offer. Every second, every day is critical. It is my opinion, I really want to see where your head's at on this. It's my opinion that there is coming a day, maybe even in this cycle, where someone agrees in principle at the end of November that they're going to take the job, take the LSU job, take the Florida job, take the Auburn job, but their season's not over. And there is a public statement made, I am taking the LSU job, I'm taking the Auburn job, I'm taking the Florida job. I am going to finish things out as long as our season goes here. And I am trying to do this on the up and up. I want to be fully transparent. I think once one person does it, it'll become a little bit more of a norm. But right now, with the way the college football calendar is and the way the hiring cycle works, you've got places that are legitimately saying, we fired our old coach because we want to get a playoff caliber coach. However, are we willing to wait for a coach that's in the playoff? And it's so counterintuitive. And people who just watch pro sports have to be laughing at it. But this is the world we live in college. I think that's going to happen. I think someone's going to get hired, and it's going to, in some form or fashion, either there's going to be a public statement or they're going to strategically have it leaked to where they then have to address it publicly, and begrudgingly they say, yeah, I'm taking the other job, but I'm not leaving here until our work's done. And it's like Last Dance, like McElroy said the other day. You just treat it like the 97 Bulls, and whatever happens after this, that's the edge of the cliff. Don't even worry about what's over the cliff.
And I'm sure most ADs will look at it and say, if we can chase that title and get it, what's the value that's going to bring next year, 5 years, 10 years from now, which is probably the right way to look at it. And I didn't share McElroy's brain on that one, where I don't think I could do it. And the main thing that kept popping into my brain is, you're spending how many hours a day? Like, let's hypothetically say you had Auburn's roster right now and you were doing this and you're making a playoff run. The amount of guys that could be back next year that are good football players, that are talented football players. And I'm giving that guy another month to recruit all of those gentlemen to go play at the next place. I would be terrified of that, because we know what happens when our coach decides to go take a different job. That portal opens up. Now, we still only have the one window, and I get that, but that would be a runway into that window. That would terrify me, Josh. That would be the one thing that I would look at and say, I don't know if I can allow this to happen. I get chasing a title. I understand what it would mean to the school, specifically if it's one that hadn't been done before. But where would it go if, let's hypotheticals again, if we're referencing Lane here and Ole Miss is in and we get further down here, they win their first round game and LSU just sitting there vacant. Florida's just sitting there vacant. And Scott Strickland saying, we're trying, but can't find anybody, and Ole Miss wins again. Scott Strickland, we're looking. Every other job is filled. Like, we've vetted all the candidates. Maybe somebody else is going to show up. Like, at that point in time. Can you imagine the press conferences on a daily basis after practice that a certain coach would have to deal with if that were the case? So if you're going to do it, you have to put it out there. You have to put part of that to rest. If the AD is going to allow it, the coach is okay doing it, the players are okay with it, you have to get out in front of it 100%. You can't try to play secret. You can't try to say this isn't happening and then really you're going to leave in the middle of the night a little bit later once your playoff run is over. You have to put it out there. But I think it's going to be more complicated than even we're thinking about right now. Different aspects are going to show up with it. And I still don't know. I go back and forth of, if I was the athletic director, do I want to allow that because I just want that title and what that's going to mean moving forward? Or do I say no and I pull the ripcord and whoever else wants to stay, we'll try to figure that out, which that's even a dangerous game too, because most of them are going with that guy.
Yeah. And then so the follow-up there, like a fan may listen to that and say, all right, well, maybe there's a happy middle ground. Maybe if a coach is going to leave school A to go to school B, which is in the same conference, maybe you make him agree either verbally or contractually that none of his current players will follow him. You can't do that for two reasons. Number one, I think in the real world, we understand a lot of these hires are package deals. A lot of these dudes get a leg up in the hiring process because of who they can bring with them. It's gross. I hate it, but that's the way the game works now. So you couldn't do it for that reason. And then number two, it doesn't matter if Lane Kiffin signs his name on a piece of paper that says, yeah, I won't take any of my players to LSU. The players get to decide where they go, really, ultimately. So I'm not... Yeah, it's a mess, man. Happy December to everyone. It sounds like it's going to be really, really fun. I don't know what the perfect way is. If someone paid you $1 billion to consult them, what would you tell them the perfect way is?
If you're winning like that at that place, unless it is literally night and day different, which in this day and age, I'm not sure any of those are, stay where you are.
That's exactly what I would do. If that's exactly what I would do. Not knowing anything about your personal life, if it's just through the professional spectrum, that's absolutely what I would do.
And then I would follow that up with, I know what you're looking at, but like Biggie always said, mo money, mo problems.
Exactly. I tell Jesse that every day, every single day.
And he knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Tell people where they can find Cube Show, please.
YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I'm sure there's some random hosting sites out there for podcasts as well that will allow it to be played on their servers. But just go to YouTube, search Cube Show. Every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, depending on travel woes and servers being down, we're going to let you know what happened in every SEC game. We'll talk about some of these coaching moves and take you a little bit behind the scenes from whatever game we were covering that weekend. Which
this weekend is Florida at Kentucky. Have fun up there. Get out before the cold weather hits. I don't want you catching cold. This is not the time of year that we need you doing that. You seen that immunity stuff Alyssa Lang takes? I ordered some of it. I haven't sneezed in days. I don't know what's in that stuff. It's a little shot?
Like she takes the little shot?
Yeah, and I don't know what the name of the company is, and they haven't paid me anyway, but like I saw her using it, and I've used it. It's changed my life.
Is that why you say immunity all the time?
That's Cole Cubelic, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to him next week, and we'll talk to you next week. Friday Night Lines is going to come to you from Lubbock, Texas. First time ever from Lubbock, Texas. And we'll be in a hotel room. I don't really know where we're staying yet. I'll tweet out the time. I'll put it in the Instagram story tomorrow, probably sometime later at night. Classic Friday Night Lines start time. And if you're unfamiliar with what Friday Night Lines is, just follow me, Josh Pate CFB, over on Instagram and join in on the fun. Like, we've won money several weeks in a row now. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That's it. That's all. That's how we end the week. If you've been holding out all week, just subscribe to the channel. It's free. Nothing else happens. You'll forget you even did it, but it will help us. For Director Bradley, for Producer Jesse, I'm Josh Pate. We will be in Lubbock Saturday. We'll be back here in Nashville Sunday to talk about it all. Until then, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the games, take care, and God bless.